Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's show is presented by Manscaped. You got a bush? You're rocking a George W? Get that shit out of here. Go to manscaped.com. Use code Raiders for 20% off and free shipping on the best male grooming products out there. Manscaped is hooking the nation up. All I'm saying is, make sure your Ken Stabler's looking good, and make sure your black hole is also looking squeaky clean. Now, coming up here on the show, I got a fun segment for all of y'all, and it is this. I am going to be projecting 5 Raiders records that I believe could be broken this season, and they are single-season records. So I know some people like to do bold predictions, which, hey, I'm all on board for. But let's go a little bit bolder. Let's get a little bit more wild here. 5 Raiders single-season records that I believe could be broken. The first one up on my list is around quarterback Derek Carr. And the record that I believe that he could break this upcoming season is he's going to throw for the most passing touchdowns by a Raider ever. The record right now is currently held by Daryle Lamonica, who threw for 34 touchdowns in 1969. This is the best offense Carr has ever been on. This has got the most talent. He's got Davante Adams. He's got Hunter Renfrow. He's got Darren Waller. He's got a new offensive coordinator, new offensive-minded overall personnel. I believe Derek Carr has a realistic opportunity to throw for more than 34 touchdowns. When you go back and you look at the single-season record numbers, Lamonica, again, 34. Carr back in 2015 threw for 32. Lamonica in 67 threw for 30. Jeff George in 1997 threw for 29. And then DC and Rich Gannon in 2000 for Gannon threw for 28. Carr in 2016. When you talk about top targets, and I am confident to come up here and say that I actually believe that Derek has the best wide receiver tight end trio in the entire league. If you think that somebody else has a better trio, let me know. I'm curious because Adams, Waller, and Renfrow all have a legitimate chance to have 100 catches. All of them have a legitimate chance to bring in 10 touchdowns. All of which also have a legitimate chance to have over 1,000 receiving yards. Not many teams out there can say that. The issue is this. Yes, DC has done a good job throwing for yards his entire career. Heck, he threw for 4,804 yards last season, breaking the Raiders' single-season record. Touchdowns, though, is the issue. And when you go through, you look at Derek Carr's entire career touchdowns, well, it's been a little lackluster. Yes, 2015, 2016, 28, 32 touchdowns, that's good. But since then, I think we can all agree, it's been a little bit disappointing. Also, obviously, you can't put the blame solely on Carr. But for a quarterback who's averaged 24 passing touchdowns his entire career, for me to project 35, I don't know about y'all, I do think that's pretty bold. So go down in the comments section right now. Let me know, down in the comments, how many touchdowns will Derek Carr throw for this year? If you're watching this live, a lot of the numbers when I asked before were like 40 and in the 50s. That's totally fine. If that happens, watch parties, man, they are going to be a great time. And speaking of watch parties, if you're wondering what the heck that is, every single Raiders game, preseason and regular season, fingers crossed playoffs and a Super Bowl, I go live. It's like a 4 to 5 hour live stream. We get hundreds of thousands of people watching. It is such a good time. So if you want the normal videos you get here, subscribe. But if you want even more special videos during the regular season, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, because I promise you, you don't want to miss out on our watch parties this upcoming year. Let's go to the next record that I believe could be broken. Oh, wow, look at this. This guy again, Derek Carr. I believe Derek Carr going to have the highest passer rating in Raiders history. Currently, the record is held by Ken Stabler, who had 103.4 passer rating in 1976. DC has been over 100 twice in his career. He just hasn't quite been able to get over the 102 quarterback rating hump. And, you know, this is a pretty successful season when you really think about having that high of a QB rating. And overall, throughout Raiders history, there's only been 3 guys to ever get over 100. Stabler and Derek Carr. Carr did it in 2020. He also did it in 2019. Rich Gannon at 97.3 in 2002. And then DC yet again at 96.7. I wonder what Carr could have been last season because he was on pace to break this record, and then the whole Henry Ruggs situation happened. But now with this offense, like I said about the touchdowns, you can see it that it could potentially go down this upcoming season. So from a Carr passing rating standpoint, throughout his entire career, even though he had 32 touchdowns in 2015, the passer rating was lower. It's because he had a lower completion percentage, had a little bit of a higher INT rate in some past years, but quarterback passer rating does really implicate sometimes touchdowns, less turnovers, overall how many yards somebody's throwing for, and all that kind of good jazz. Now, when you look at the past season, in terms of passer rating, say that a few times fast, Rodgers had 111. He was number one in the league. Joe Burrow was 108.3. Dak Prescott at 104.2. And then Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson were tied for fourth at 103.1. So it is possible. It's just Derek Carr has to play at a high level in order to beat that record. We got 3 more records coming up for y'all, but guess what? Manscaped is hooking up Raider Nation. Make sure you use promo code Raiders at manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping. I want you to try out the Performance Package. And why should you try it out? You get the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, which is right next to it. Get all those funky hairs out of your nose. I don't know if you ever sat next to somebody and they got like a whole bunch of hair sticking out of their nostrils. It's kind of hard to look away. If you're on a first date and that happens, chances are you're not going to get a second date. Get the ball toner. Get the ball deodorant, because I'm telling y'all right now, it's important for your balls to smell good. Also, they throw in the most comfortable boxers in the entire world, the Manscaped boxers. So if you got a bush, if you want to make sure that your Ken Stabler isn't living in the weeds, get rid of it with the Lawnmower 4.0. It's got that little light on the end of the tunnel. That way when you got your feet up and you're trying to get into those hard-to-reach places, you can do it. Manscaped makes it easier for all y'all. Manscaped.com, promo code Raiders. All right, let's talk about the next record here that could end up getting broken. It's Davante Adams, and I believe he could have the most catches by a Raider in a single season. The record right now is held on by our good friend Darren Waller, who had 107 grabs in the 2020 season. Adams, throughout his career, has already surpassed the 107 catch mark 3 times. He's done it 3 out of the last 4 seasons, in fact. Obviously, though, when you look at Adams' numbers, you can't really look at him as apples to apples, because as much as I love DC, as much as I hope that DC has a career year, well, he's not Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know if many people are Aaron Rodgers. But in terms of receptions by season, I'm just going to look at those last 4 years. 123, 115, 111 in 2018. And in 2019, yeah, he had 83 catches, but homeboy was still dominant in the end zone. So when you look at all those numbers right there, if the Waller record is at 107, I want you to comment below. And that's what the Raiders Report does. The Raiders Report is about me depending on all y'all to not only watch the video, but participate. Like, I want this show to be like you and I hanging out at a bar talking Raiders content, because if you're sitting at a bar and I'm the only one talking, it's going to be kind of weird. If you're sitting there and you're the only one talking, it's going to be kind of weird. So all I ask you to do is this. Look into your crystal balls. Shout out to Manscaped. Let me know how many receptions for Davante Adams this upcoming season. The next player that I believe could end up breaking a record this year, it's Mad Max, Maxx Crosby, who was looking fly this past weekend at UFC event, rocking that Jason Williams jersey. Mad, I see you. Crosby, he's going to have the most sacks in 2022. The record right now is held by Derrick Burgess, who had 16 in 2005. Crosby is entering the 4th year of his career, and this is a player who I believe gets better and better and better. In terms of the most single-season sacks, when you look at it from top to bottom, Crosby, to me, has the athletic ability, and he's good enough to, honestly, make that move. He's good enough to really get there. Sean Jones had 15 and a half in 1986. Khalil Mack, 15 in 2015. And then 4 players were tied for 13. One of the things that I look for, just like I look on offense, opportunity, I also look for opportunity on the defensive side of the football. And yes, Max, when he was a rookie, had 10 sacks, 14 quarterback hits. In 2020, 7 sacks, 13 quarterback hits. This season, he's got a real opportunity, because last year, even though he had only 8 sacks, he had 30 quarterback hits. And what I look at is this. And a defense that's going to blitz more, and a Gus Bradley defense, for him to have 30 quarterback hits shows how dominant of an edge rusher, how dominant of a defensive end he is. You have to win a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of double teams, and I went back and I watched every single snap by Crosby. The amount of times that man got held and nothing was called, I look at 30 quarterback hits and think, okay, what happens if 5 or 6 of those get turned into sacks and not QB hits? What happens if 2 or 3 of those non-holding calls turn into sacks? It's very possible that out of all these, the most likely one is Maxx Crosby getting 16.5 sacks. That would not surprise anybody, right? So what's your prediction, y'all? How many sacks for Mad Max? Let me know what you guys are thinking. I know I've asked you a lot of questions here, but hey, that's what we do. That's what we like to do here at the Raiders Report. We do have one more to get to, but before I do, always remember, if you want to make sure you never, and I mean never, miss anything going on around the silver and black, if you're on Instagram, hit me up. Give me a follow on Instagram at MitchellRents365. Make sure you're checking out my stories. I post videos. I post my daily life. I post extra news and content around the Raiders. So please don't be afraid to hit me up. The final player here that could break a record for the Raiders is Daniel Carlson. And I believe that Carlson will have the most points scored by a player in 2022. The record holder, well, it's actually Carlson, who had 150 last season, and I simply look at this. Better offense leads to more opportunities, leads to more points scored. Now, Carlson's also number 2 on this list because in 2020, he had 144. One of the things that needs to happen is, which field goals are an easier opportunity for him to get more points, but I believe that you look at his field goal numbers from last season, kicked 40 field goals, did miss 3. If you look at that and think, okay, well, if he makes an extra one, makes 2, obviously that's simple math. But on top of that, and if you're wondering how these points are calculated, 40 times 3 is 120, okay? Plus 30, there you go, 150. Does that make sense? Points, field goals, 3 points, extra point, 1 point. I believe that the extra points go up because the Raiders are going to be in the red zone more often. And yes, even though I see the field goals going down, I believe the extra point numbers are going to be a lot closer to 2020 than what they were last season. Therefore, Carlson, he's going to have more points than what he did last season. So, of course, I'm going to ask you this one, and this will be the last time I ask you this question. How many points will Daniel Carlson score this season? And saying points out loud when you're talking about the NFL does kind of sound weird. Kind of reminds me of how many points are the Mets going to score in a baseball game. First off, if you say points and not runs, I'm going to judge you a little bit. But let me know, how many points will Daniel Carlson score this upcoming season?